All right, so the CEO just sat down with Bloomberg, and I'm going to go ahead and summarize everything he just said. If you want to watch the interview, I'll have it timestamped at the back half of this video. Go ahead and watch it there. But I'm going to go ahead and summarize what he said. I'll go ahead and talk about my opinions, as well as some interesting Easter eggs that he laid out. So let's go ahead and dive into the summary. And then if you want to watch the interview, just go ahead and go to the timestamps on the back half of this video. But other than that, let's go ahead and dive into the summary. So they were at the new the Panasonic battery plant. I believe it was in Kansas. Now, something interesting is Lucid's not going to start receiving these batteries until the next calendar year. So we're not going to see the impacts of it this calendar year, but he said that's something to look forward to for next calendar year. For example, if they're importing batteries from Japan or Korea, those are obviously going to be tariffed under this current administration. So it's important that they're getting this new battery plant up ASAP. Okay, great. So he said that they are also making raw material investments into graphite and other things like that to help lower costs, because everything that they can source inside the United States is going to be cheaper instead of paying tariffs on it. So they're hitting a point where it's making more sense to build these batteries in the country than getting tariffed on it. But again, these things just take time. Something that he did hint on is that they are heavily working on the $50,000 model. Now, I've been harping on this since the day that I've been covering Lucid, that they need to have a cheaper model. I thought they would have gotten to it faster. And the CEO actually points out to this, and I'll explain where he points out to it towards the end. He said that the gravity is going to continue. The gravity scaling is going to continue as planned. They are not going to be able to use the batteries from the Panasonic facility this year, but that'll be next calendar year. We already talked about that. The current vehicles, he said that they're the best selling in their segment. And I'm going to talk about what this means in just a second. But he said the gravity is still ramping up, and they have a lot to do in order to be able to hit their target of 20,000 vehicles by the end of the year. Obviously, we saw that they just delivered 3,000. So 3,000 divided by 4 is only 12,000. I think they're at 6,000. So they're going to have to they're at 6,000 to the current point. So they're going to have to dramatically kind of increase. I mean, if they're at 6,000, 20 minus 6 is 14. They're going to have to they're going to have to more than double their manufacturing per quarter in order to hit that $20,000 delivery mark. I don't know if it's deliveries or manufactured, but for this example, let's say they're one and the same. So they're going to have to ramp up from 3,000 to 7,000, which is more than double their current output. So let's see if they can really start to hit these economies of scale. I think that's really important to know if you're interested in this company. Okay, so he did say that the inflection point of economies of scale is still pretty far out, which wasn't the best thing to hear as an investor, but give the company time. They're still growing. He says that they can't just whip out a model faster, that these economies of scale really need time to develop relationships with manufacturer, the assembly lines. These economies of scale take time to build. Understandable. I don't think I heard Peter Rawlinson talk about that, so I'm glad that he was able to bring that up. Ed Ludlow, the host of this Bloomberg television segment, he asked, are you going to be able to hit 20,000 this year? I love how Ed Ludlow just kind of attacks the question directly. But he said he's in a quiet period. He's not going to be able to talk about it until August 5th. August 5th is obviously their earnings call date. And then Ed Ludlow's like, hey, are we going to see the $50,000 car next year? And the CEO said the same thing. Yes, he's in a quiet period and he cannot talk until August 5th, which is their earnings call. He says the goal of partnerships still hasn't changed, that these things just take time. We've heard that now for 4 or 5 years. But he said because of tariffs, interesting things are starting to develop, which I actually believe. I actually believe that concept is true. I'll be interested to hear if we hear any developments of that on August 5th. But nonetheless, I do think the concept of, hey, people are wanting, since we're an all EV play and we're really good at manufacturing, maybe people are going to want to come build with our factories. But given the fact that Lucid's kind of had a rough time scaling up their factories on their own, I don't know how quickly somebody would come to them for help, because they're still trying to grow their business themselves. Just kind of my opinion on that. I put in my notes here that I was skeptical that people were going to want to come to them for manufacturing, but it is what it is. So something interesting, he mentioned again that they are dominant in their segment. He said they even outsold the Model S, which is really interesting. And he said, don't compare the Gravity to anything else in its class yet, but let's chat later. I do think, in my opinion, that they will end up beating the Model S and Model X in total sales. One, because they don't have anything else to offer, but at the end of the day, that's not Tesla's bread and butter, the Model S and X. And the Model X is different enough with the Falcon Wing doors that I think people may prefer the Gravity as an SUV. So something to keep something to keep your eye on for sure. He says tariffs have complicated things significantly and have added increased headache, which I totally get. This poor company's been through the ringer. They SPAC'd, they got hit with the supply chains of COVID, they got hit with the high interest rates of cars, which selling a luxury car in a high interest rate environment can't be fun. They had the CEO step down, and they continue to get hit with supply chains again due to the tariffs. So this company's been hit with problems after problems. So I'm just glad to see that they're not bankrupt, that they're still in the fight. So hats off to them for that. He said everything is assembled here in the United States, but their secondary layers are still imported. So they are impacted by tariffs, but maybe not as much as other people in the industry are. He said they're not going to do a range extender. They still believe in their mission of their cars have really good battery technology. And he just says, hey, the policies that our policymakers are making right now will make vehicles more expensive for Americans. He said there's a reason the supply chain was global is because there was just cheaper parts global. So by forcing things to be built inside the United States, it's just going to be more expensive for a while. Now, I totally believe that, but I believe as the infrastructure gets built, like the Panasonic batteries, I don't know if we'll ever see things quite as equal as it was on a global scale. But I do give hats off for them trying to be as creative as they can to try to get the parts inside the country to avoid the tariffs. I don't know how long this will last, if it'll last forever, if it'll be immediately undone next administration. Who knows? But so far, the Lucid seems to be in good spirits. I'm looking forward to the earnings call on August 5th. So if you guys want to be a part of that, and if you guys enjoy my perspective, consider subscribing. And again, if you want to watch the interview, go ahead and watch the back half of this segment. I don't talk too much during the interview, so you should be able to enjoy it. But you can kind of compare my notes with what you hear in the interview, and let me know down in the comments. Do you disagree with me? Do you agree with me? Let me know where you're sitting. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. This interview was a treat to be able to listen to. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And what's up, guys? I hope you guys enjoyed that summary. If you want to see a breakdown of, in my opinion, what could be a possible path to profitability for Lucid, I'll make sure I'll link the video up here in one of the cards. So go ahead and click that video if you want to watch the path to profitability. But if you want to watch it after the interview, I'll leave that video in one of the cards down here. Just go ahead and click that card and you can watch my opinion on when a possible path to Lucid's profitability will be. Thanks guys for watching.
So currently we're getting our battery supplies either from Japan or from Korea, depending on the supplier. And Panasonic is a great partner for us. We decided 2.5 years ago to make together this investment here and to localize the production, the cell production here to Kansas.
It's not just volume supply. This is 2170, but my understanding is there was some co-engineering to make this as good as it can possibly be. Explain how that works.
It's a great collaboration between our engineering departments and their engineering department. We bring in a lot of experience on what the cell is supposed to do in real life, and they make it happen with chemistry and with all of the parameters of the cell. So it was really, really great collaboration. And that we also then are able now to produce this here locally, obviously in the current climate helps us a lot.
How do the economics of the DeSoto Candace made 2170 stack? I know that you love charts and spreadsheets as much as I do, but you must have done that analysis.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
what's it like?
I would say we wouldn't have done it if it wouldn't be economically feasible or beneficial. As I mentioned before, we made that decision not just recently. So tariffs were not on the radar screen at that time. We did that decision 2.5 years ago. And at that time, together with the 45X incentive, the tax credit, the economics make sense. I still have to say, and I hope that Panasonic hears that there's some room of improvement. But also right now, obviously, with the tariffs, this is a very good move for us.
Because the same cell that would otherwise have come from Japan or Korea is subject to tariffs.
It is.
That's exactly a part of the equation.
That is correct. And the other thing that we are currently working on together with Panasonic is obviously further localizing the supply chain for the cell, because it doesn't do you a lot of good if you manufacture here, but you still import the raw material, which is then subject to tariffs. So we're already doing a lot of investments in that. You heard about our Graphite One investments on the graphite and other materials. So we're working with them on making that happen as well.
Mark, I've covered Lucid for a number of years. This is the first time you and I have spoken, and I'm grateful for your time. Your predecessor, Peter Rawlinson, had a very simple argument. Lucid had the best technology
Yeah.
on the hardware side and software, battery management system.
Yes.
And even though your journey started in the premium segments, that you would scale to volume because you would just say this performance and range in this pack, we can just scale it down, make a more affordable version. Have we hit that inflection point yet?
Well, I mean, we're about to. Everybody knows by now that follows Lucid that, we are very, very strongly working on our mid-size platform,
Right.
which is a, smaller platform, also from a price point perspective, more in the $50,000 range,
Okay, that's
and
big.
not where we are right now. And that's when we really hit that inflection point. But with the Gravity that we are ramping up right now, we're already expecting to have much higher numbers that we had in the past.
Right. I think, there's a lot of work to do in the second half of the year to reach 20,000.
Yes.
What role does the DeSoto plant play? Will you be able to get hold of cells from here for vehicles sold or delivered in this calendar year?
No, not yet.
Okay,
Not yet.
so
that is something for next year. And again, with our partners, with Panasonic, we are working on opportunities to further bring this in, because obviously in the current climate, that is very important for us to localize.
We've focused this morning a lot on policy.
Mm-hmm.
You brought up the 45X credit, but the consumer credit of $7,500, you likely know more.
Yeah.
What can you do in that environment with the vehicle? Are you able to pull forward lower price point variants? Are you looking to just appeal to the premium segment on an ongoing basis?
Well, first of all, when it comes to our current vehicles with the Air, it might not be widely known, but we are the best-selling vehicle in our segment, the best-selling EV, and we also were in the second half of last year. In the beginning of this year, we were the best-selling vehicle in the whole segment, including ICE vehicles. So the Air is actually doing well, although the numbers are obviously, when you look at the broader scheme of things, are not that high yet, but that's because of the size of the segment.
Right.
With Gravity, obviously, we're now reaching a different scale, and we're still ramping up the production. And as you said, we have to do quite a lot in order to get to our target for this year. But it's going well. We're unclocking some of the blockages that we had in the supply chain, and our plant really, got into the groove to create the vehicle. So I would say the inflection point of having really economics of scale is still a little bit out. We're still more appealing to the higher price segment. That's what we have. And I mean, in automotive, you cannot just decide, let's put out a new, cheaper variant next week. It takes years to implement, to plan, to engineer, to validate. So that's sometimes a little not well understood, that manufacturing and building great cars is a long-term game. And you have to build also economics of scale over time. It's not something that happens from one day to the other.
But I'll hold you to it. 20,000 is realistic this year with the time left to you.
We're in a quiet period right now, so I cannot really talk about it. I suggest you tune in our earnings call on August 5th.
I will do.
And you will definitely hear about it.
And the mid-size platform is on track for next year.
And the same applies to that as well. We're working very hard, but on August 5th, there will be news on that.
The other part of Lucid's history was the idea of partnerships, manufacturing partnerships, licensing technology. Has that idea changed given the political environment?
No, actually, no, it hasn't. So as a matter of fact, and I said that in the last couple of months, and everybody honestly, understandably asked me, okay, where is it? Where is it? Again, those things take time. And particularly in the last couple of months with the uncertainty of the tariffs, I have to say, many of the people we had conversations with, they have other issues. They have pressing things to solve right now. In the last quarter, we also on top of that had, the magnet shortage, which actually halted production for several players. So those discussions still happen on our EV core technology. But also beyond that, stay tuned. There will be other news also.
Are those potential partners, though, motivated by the environment? The effort to onshore industry in this country,
exactly,
to work with American companies?
They're different things. First of all, right now with the, let's say, perceived slowdown of EV adoption, especially companies that have both ICE vehicles and EVs, they can only invest the dollar once. So right now we see, let's say, shift back to ICE vehicles, and therefore, but they still need to come out with new models. And therefore we have increased interest in, hey, can we do things together?
Right.
So, and I expect this to continue, actually.
You talked a moment ago about being dominant in your segment, the lead seller in that segment.
Yeah.
But everyone always asks me, if somebody is put off buying a Tesla vehicle, I drive a Tesla vehicle, a Model Y, but there are many out there that say, I don't want to buy a Tesla vehicle. Have you any data that says those buyers turn to Lucid in the pure play categories that you operate in?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I just said, we're now the best-selling vehicle in the United States in our segment. That includes the Model S, our segment. I mean, I don't compare right now the Gravity because we're still ramping up. We're in the phase of ramping up. I guess let's talk again by the end of this year where we stand on the Gravity. But the Air, yes, we see a lot of incoming. We always actually, by the way, had a lot of interest from Tesla buyers. That's not really new, but it has increased. Absolutely.
This administration is fascinating in Lucid's context. Maybe the pro-EV policy is not there, but supporting US manufacturers is. You also have the relationship with Saudi Arabia, and the administration in the context of GPUs, for example, has been supportive in those trade deals. What has the experience been like leading this company under the Trump administration, and net, how do you think you've come out so far?
Well, I mean, obviously things became more complicated. I mean, the tariff situation, I mean, there's no doubt it increases our cost. And it also creates a lot of additional headache, right? Because you now have to completely rethink the supply chain. Are you continuing certain things, or are you localizing? Again, that's nothing that happens from one day to the other. We are doing okay when you compare to other players in the industry, also from the cost increases, particularly because we build everything right now in the United States. And we build all of the vehicles, our key components, they're all built here in the United States. Having said that, we are hit by obviously raw materials, or let's say tier 2 suppliers that we have to import, and we have to pay tariffs on that. So it's not that we are not impacted, but we're less so than others. So yeah, I mean, it's something we have to work with. And for us, it's also because we are a pure EV manufacturer. We believe in the future of electrical propulsion. We're not wavering. We're not saying, oh, let's do, I don't know, a range extender or something. That is not going to happen with Lucid. This is part of our vision, you know, that this is the future, and actually important to save our planet. So we will find a way through this. But also I have to say, for the American consumers, vehicles are going to be more expensive under the tariff regime. There's no other way around it. There is, yes, you can say, oh, you just need to localize. Well, yes, but that still increases the costs, because there's a reason why the supply chain is so global, because certain things are either not available here in the US or are just very expensive, so you import them. And if you change that, you still have higher costs here in the United States, which means manufacturers like us, or actually any manufacturer, has to increase prices. There's no other way, unless you want everybody to be non-profit organizations, which then would lead to no innovation, no technology leadership. And I think that's, in the current climate globally, it's the last thing we want.